I have a lot of what I just call weird yarn in my stash. It's gorgeous. It looks awesome in the skein, but I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen when I knit it. So I tend to kind of stay away from it because it's like the unknown, right? This week oh my God. Cut. I'm sorry. The mailman just came up to deliver the mail. We have a glass front door. The dog saw him before I did, started barking, and just, I kind of out of the corner of my eye just saw a man on my porch. And he wasn't dressed like a mailman. He was wearing like shorts and a t-shirt. So it scared the crap out of me. Getting back to it. I'm starting a new series. This is the first video in a series called What Does That Weird Yarn Do? And I'm going to knit up some of the weird yarn I have in my stash just to show you and give you an idea of what some of this weird yarn might do if you've purchased it or if you're thinking about purchasing it and you want to know what's going to happen when you knit it up. I've got a lot of weird yarn. I'm tempted to buy weird yarn. And by weird, I don't mean ugly. It's beautiful. It looks stunning in the skein. I just don't know what's going to happen when I knit with it because it's just weird. So I want to start knitting this stuff up. Now I do have weird yarn in my stash, but I admit that the yarn I'm going to be using today, I purchased recently because I saw it on Instagram. My heart yearned, like it yearned so hard for this yarn. I had to have it. I hunted it down. I ordered it, and then I thought, God, this would be perfect. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen when I knit this up, and this would be a really fun video series to do because I'm sure a lot of us have weird yarn and we don't know what's going to happen. So this might help show you different styles of hand-painted or indie-dyed yarn and what will happen if you knit socks with them. And it will at least give you some idea of what kind of fabric particular styles of indie-dyed yarn create. So without further ado, let's take a peep at this stunning skein of yarn that I am starting us off with. Oh, look, look at this. Like, can you even? Isn't it just gorgeous? It's just a bare creamy base with like chunks or sections knit up in these really beautiful colors. This particular yarn is by Emma's Yarn. The colorway is Lucky Charm, and it's on her beautifully basic base, which is a 100% merino, superwash merino base. So that's what we're working with. Let's just look at that. I mean, can you see why I couldn't resist this? Like, I saw this, it leaped out at me and just jumped into my arms through the screen. I had to have it. Really, really beautiful. But like, what the crap is going to happen when I knit with it? Are we going to have like little stripes on the cream? What's going to happen? That's why I'm doing this video, because I want to know. So my plan is to just knit basic socks because I want to showcase the yarn and what kind of fabric it's going to create. So I'm going to be using basic sock recipes from my book, The Sock Project. I've got like a lot of different cuff options, different heel options. So I'm just going to put together a cute little basic sock using my basic sock recipes from my book so that I can showcase the fabric that this really special, beautiful yarn is going to create. Let's unwind this and see what the heck it looks like when it's unwound. Okay, here we go. We're unwinding. Woo! Okay. All right, this is interesting. So all the color is down here at this end. And then as we go here, we have we have like a little bit of speckling. We have a little bit of speckling on this end, but for the most part, it's just bare yarn. So like genuinely, I have no idea. So this is what we got. We've got bare yarn through most of the skein with just a tad tad bit of light speckling in there. And then almost all of the color is at this end of the skein. I have literally never worked with yarn that looks like this, like indie dyed yarn that looks like this. So I really have no idea what's gonna happen. My guess is that we're gonna get little dashes of color throughout the cream, maybe. Like we'll just have little dashes, little sections. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm excited to find out. So let's wind this skein up and see what it looks like caked. Okay, this is what it looks like wound up. Very different from how it looked skeined up. Now the color looks like evenly distributed all throughout, but of course we know it's not because we saw what the skein looked like. But it is a beautiful little cake. I'm very excited to knit with this. Like I so rarely knit with my weird yarn. We are just simply trying to see what fabric we get when we knit up this really weird yarn. Really beautiful, but really weird yarn. So I'm gonna get started. I did a lot of knitting last night. I got the cuff done on my sock. I got onto the leg. I now know what this fabric looks like. I now know what the weird yarn does. And I don't like what the weird yarn does. It's one of those things where it looked beautiful in the skein. The skein was very attractive to me. I loved what it looked like in the skein. But knit up, I'm not a fan. So this is what it looks like. That particular yarn creates what I'm calling micro stripes. I don't know if that's the correct term, but that's what we've got going on, are micro stripes. And I have discovered I don't like micro stripes. It just feels kind of meh to me. Like it's just kind of, it's okay. It's not blowing my dress up. And to be clear, this is through no fault of the dyer. Like this is dyed expertly. If you are into micro stripes, I mean, this is pretty much perfection. These stripes are very pronounced, and like the gradient, how they start one color and then gradually shift into the others, it's beautifully done. I mean, this is true artistry. I'm just not a fan of the effect. It's just personally, subjectively not for me, the effect that it creates. But if you like micro stripes, this was dyed to perfection. It's just not for me. I just don't like micro stripes. So if you don't like micro stripes and you see a skein that looks like this, micro stripes are likely what you're going to get. And if it's not something that you like, don't buy that. It's one of those things when you're dealing with indie dyed yarn, when you're dealing with hand dyed yarn, you sometimes don't know what you're going to end up with when you start knitting it. You don't know how a skein is going to turn into fabric. So micro stripes are not for me. And I know some of you are probably looking at this sock and you're like, Summer, that's so cool. How could you not love that? That's amazing. I love it. And that's awesome. Like if you love this, then I love that for you. And you know, micro stripes might be your thing and you might really respond to them. And it's just, I just don't. Subjectively, it's just not for me. So then I was struggling this morning. I was like, what do I do? Do I keep knitting with it? I've already started. I've already got the leg done. I'm, ready to start the heel. Should I keep going? And no, no, I don't want to keep going. Life is too short to knit with yarn that's not exciting to you. And so I don't want to. I don't want to keep I don't want to keep knitting this sock because it's not making me happy. I don't feel joy knitting with it. It's just not, I was getting really bored knitting with it, and I was just looking at it like, I don't like this. It's not for me. And I'm a process knitter. Like, you have no idea how jazzed I get when I'm knitting a sock that I'm really excited about. I love the process of watching something unfold in front of me that is just filling me with happiness. And it's just, that's just what gets me going in the morning, is the excitement of creating something that I feel really good about. So if I don't feel good about it, if I'm not having fun, if I don't like the fabric that I'm creating as I knit, then the last thing I want to do is to keep going with it. So we're going to switch gears. And now the question is, do I pick another weird skein, because I've got a few, to see what happens with those? Or do I just knit something really fun that I'm really excited to knit? And I don't know what I want to do yet. So I'm going to go skateboard and think about kind of what I want to do next, because it is a beautiful day outside. It's Saturday morning. I want to spend the weekend knitting something really fun. So I might come back and try again with a different skein of weird yarn to see what it does. Or while I'm out on my little board cruising along in this beautiful weather, I might decide, screw it. I want to knit something really cool. I want to knit one of the ideas that I have in my head and spend the weekend knitting just some totally different, random, awesome sock. So I'll let you know when I get back from my little skateboarding adventure. Okay, I'm back from my skateboarding excursion. I thought a lot about what I want to do now, since my initial sock did not work out because I did not like the fabric that I was getting. And so I thought, okay, I could absolutely pull another weird yarn out of my stash and try again with a different yarn. And I don't want to. I've had enough weird yarn for the weekend. Now I want to knit something really fun that I'm really jazzed and excited about. For a while, I've had in my head, it's getting close to summertime. I'm thinking summer colors, like vintage postcards, really cool blues and oranges. And so I've had this idea in my head to just do a really cool ribbed socks with a stripe. And so that's what I'm going to do. This is the creative process. You start to do something, you're not feeling it, so you let it go. And then you move on to something that is exciting to you. I think that so often when we start knitting with something, even if we're not feeling it, we know it's not necessarily something that we like or may not even wear. We kind of feel like we need to keep going, see it through, finish the sock because we bought the yarn, we've put this time and effort in, we should go ahead and finish. And that's perfectly valid. That is not how I operate at all. If I'm not feeling something, then I have got to let it go when it comes to my knitting. When it comes to, this is like an art form to me. Like I said, I'm a process knitter. I get my joy out of making the socks. I'm majorly into the process. That is my art form, is creating beautiful socks. And so if I'm knitting something and I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to keep going just because I've already put effort into it or because I bought the yarn. I view it as a learning experience. And now I know I don't like that particular kind of yarn. I won't ever buy it again. And I will find a really good home for the leftover skein that I have, because I know that there'll be someone in my neighborhood or in my community that wants it and would love it and would use it. So I'm moving on. And we are going to be knitting a really cool vintage summer sock, and I am so excited. I hope this turns out. I've had enough disappointment. These two balls of yarn, this really cool, slightly greenish blue. It's kind of an icy greenish blue with this bright orange. This just makes me think of ice cream, like a vintage ice cream cone sign, or like a vintage washed out postcard from the 60s of a beach, and it's got the people in the brightly colored bathing suits. And I don't know, I'm just getting this Wes Anderson vibe even off of this. So I'm excited. I'm going to do a 1x1 cuff, and then I'm going to switch to a 2x2 rib for the leg of the sock, and then the foot of the sock, I think I'm just going to do plain stockinette. That's my plan. I'm going to cast on. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to see if this looks good. And by the end of this video, hopefully I will have an amazing pair of socks, and we will all have learned a lesson that sometimes you buy yarn that looks beautiful in a skein and you knit it up and it looks weird and you don't like it, so you just move on and create something that you do love and that you are excited about. So, casting on. Okay, it's the morning of day 3, and here's where we're at. I started yesterday afternoon, and I made a lot of progress yesterday. I did a 2-inch 1x1 cuff, and that took like 100 years. It took a while. I actually don't mind knitting 1x1. I do for the first few rows, and then I get into a groove, and then it's almost like I'm in some sort of weird meditative trance. I get a lot of good, like, subconscious thinking cleared out. I don't know, but trust me on this. Like, if you dread 1x1, which I get if you're doing a sweater and you have like 400 stitches per round, but if you're doing 1x1 on a sock, you really can kind of slip into this sort of like meditative trance, and it's very woo. And it's just, I don't know. I always feel calm and very like peaceful after I do it. So you might try that. I don't know if you're not a fan of doing 1x1 rib. I love the way it looks, especially on a thick cuff. So it's worth it to me to do it. So I'm just doing 2 orange stripes at the top. I did 1x1 on the cuff, and then I switched to 2x2 for the leg of the sock. And my plan is to discontinue the ribbing altogether once I get to the heel and just do straight stockinette on the foot. So only the leg will be ribbed. So I think I'm about to go to the park and do some knitting. We have a really cool park in our neighborhood, so I'm gonna go there, chill out, enjoy the morning with the geese. There's baby goslings there right now. So yeah, we're gonna do some knitting at the park, and it's gonna be super peaceful and cool. All right, it's day 4. I got a lot of knitting done yesterday. I completely finished the leg on my sock, finished the gusset decreases, the heel. I am now on the foot. So I'm gonna be like racing through the foot today. But I'm absolutely loving how this is turning out. This is very much what I had in mind when I was thinking of like my vintage summer colors sock. Love the classic ribbing. Oh, I'm just super happy with this. And it's so much more fun to knit than knitting with the yarn that I didn't love working with. I feel like I'm learning more and more and more about what I'm into, what I like. And I think I don't necessarily want to shut myself off from unique or weird yarn, because you never know. Something absolutely amazing could happen if you take a chance on a skein and it turns out really cool. But it's also hard because that's money. And so it's hard to part with your hard-earned dollars on a chance. And for me, I think I'm going to stay away from Unique yarn in terms of purchasing it for a while. Like I said, I've still got some skeins in my stash that I've bought over the years that I couldn't resist because it looked really cool. And I do want to do more videos where I knit those up to show you what they look like. But in terms of my purchases, I'm going to stick with what I really love right now, and that is tonals. That's creating magic with blending different colors. As far as the heavily variegated or skeins that look really cool in the skein, but you're not sure what it's going to look like when it's knit up, I think I'm going to stay away from that for a while because at the moment it's not worth the risk. I don't want to risk my money. I don't want to risk my time. I just want to lean into what I love, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Very excited. I'm going to keep working on the foot of this sock and hopefully finish it today. That's my goal. Finish it today. I'm not even sure I'm in focus. Am I? Okay, I finished my sock yesterday evening, and I do not like it. It did not. I went ahead and blocked it just to make sure, but I definitely don't like it. It's just kind of meh. Like, I mean, it's okay. It's not horrible. It's just not super cute. It's not, I don't know. It's just okay. And for me, okay is never good enough. Like I said, I'm a process knitter. I derive immense satisfaction and joy out of the process of creating socks. So if it's just okay for me, it's not good enough to knit the second one, not good enough to wear, not good enough to really do anything with. So I'm 0 for 2 this week. My initial sock that I was knitting out of the weird yarn turned out to be kind of meh. This turned out to be kind of meh. And you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would love to have an amazing pair of socks to show you every week. And that's just not the reality. That's not how creativity works at all. I don't create things that I love all the time. Frequently, I create things that are just meh or things that I absolutely downright hate. So that's just the reality of the creative process. And it's what you're getting this week. I don't have a great pair of finished socks to show you. I just have one, like, meh. I really hate this sock. With me, I am a hot or cold person. I feel deep, deep joy whenever I love something, and then if I don't like something, I absolutely hate it. I am not lukewarm in any sense of the word. I am either very hot or very cold. I either love or I hate. So I hate this. I really hate this. I hate the colors. I don't like the shape of it. I don't like anything about it. So I'm definitely not going to knit the second one. I'm going to move on. I'm not going to knit the second sock, even though I've got one. It's just going to go in the drawer with the rest of my failures. And that's another thing. I know some of you might be like, it's not a failure. And I get that. That's definitely a valid way to look at things. For me, I don't mind the word failure. I don't mind failing. I think that's how you grow. I think that's how you learn. The word fail, the concept of failure, is not a negative to me. It's a positive. So I view this as a failure. I set out to make a really cool sock that I was excited about. In my head, I pictured it going a lot better than this. I pictured it looking better than this. And the end result was just kind of meh. I don't let failure get me down. I use failure as fuel in my next endeavor. So this was a fail this week on both fronts, 0 for 2. I don't have a beautiful pair of socks to show you this week. Hopefully next week I will. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. You can find links to my Ravelry and Etsy stores, my website in the description below the video. You can also sign up for my newsletter there. You can find my email address if you've got questions. But if you want to see the creative process, definitely subscribe, because every week I definitely show you what it looks like, not just the good stuff where you make something great, but sometimes the bad stuff where you make something not so great. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.